Hello. Welcome to the Make It While You Fake It podcast. A podcast about running a custom furniture and woodworking business while also trying to start a community makerspace outside of Philly. All without having any formal education in woodworking or in business. I'm Dan Skirma from Woe Shop Woodworking and Monco Makers, and I'm glad that you're here with us. We just started.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we started like 20 minutes ago.
No, I was going to, and then I didn't feel like editing. So
there you go.
So yeah, no. Welcome everyone.
Happy Patriots Day.
What? It's Patriots Day?
Yeah, dude.
You're in Eagles country. That's bad.
Okay, first of all, Patriots Day, while being a native New England holiday, has nothing to do with the football team.
I figured as much.
It's about they soft launched it a little bit beforehand, but like the full official launch of the American Revolution.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Also, Marathon Monday, Boston Marathon.
Was that today?
Today.
Really?
All day.
I didn't see one thing online about it at all.
More importantly than the Boston Marathon, because running is stupid.
It is.
The midnight bike ride, one of the most holy of holy traditions.
But how do they see?
Oh, dude, it's crazy. You get like thousands of people on bikes wrapped in like glow sticks and like strobe lights and shit.
Is this the one where they're naked?
This is not the naked bike ride.
Yeah.
This is so
because Mike does that.
Obviously,
I don't want to go see him do that.
Got that electric bike.
Go for a naked bike ride with an e-bike where you just sit there with your stuff out there flapping. Look, I'm doing it.
Look, man, no hands.
You're cheating. And it's grotesque.
Yeah, it's Happy Patriots Day.
Yeah, nice.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, we're here. I am every week because I'm full-fledged townie at this point. Considering I spend all weekend at the Little League and all that kind of crap. Random people coming up to me saying they like the podcast. I love it.
Really?
It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Do we have any like numbers or anything?
Where are the Patreon subscribers?
Patreon subscribers. You could be the first subscriber that is a paid subscriber. We have 3 that are not, but we have 3 patrons that are just free tier, which is they just follow it and that's it.
All right. Better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
Better than nothing. We'll take that.
We also, I'm trying to think of something that is even any kind of value for somebody to become a paid patron outside of just donating to this makerspace. Because all the other ones that I'm looking at, it's like you get the recording a day earlier. That's not any incentive for me. If I were a patron of other shows, they have a weekly or not a weekly, like a monthly Zoom call with all the members. They send out a big invite. You can just literally just chat it up with.
So it's like a
well, you need to invite the
live
Patreon to the podcast. They need to be on it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of them that I know about are all local outside Tony.
Shout out to the Canadian himself.
We were so our friend Tony up in Canada. We were talking metal last week, and Tony messaged me in a fit of rage.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to
all the shit you talked about last.
Me spewing my expertise, having touched metal once or twice.
Oh, I watched it.
It's a good time.
And I was texting him as I'm watching it like, you idiot.
It was so much fun for me. Nothing makes me prouder than making him mad.
It's the little things.
But he knows I love him. But anyway. So random subscribers. Getting cold calls for people that are looking to just like, hey, I have 2 boards I need to plane in your shop. Can I come do that? It's like, sure.
There you go.
You know, I have a lunchbox planer. I wish I had something bigger. If only there were a spot locally. Like you're saying the words that I like to hear. So that's all exciting. And we're getting lots of feedback in terms of what people are kind of excited about when it opens. A lot of a lot of people checking the box for beginner classes. Not surprising.
Sure.
A couple people messaging me specifically wanting women's classes.
Love that.
One in particular was like, it's not directly woodworking, but a class just about power tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're like, I want to do things, but my husband's playing video games, so I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
So how do I use a stud finder, put a screw in, and hang shelves?
Yep.
Like basic shit that
Basic.
Woodwork-
until you do it a couple times and screw it up,
Mhm.
whatever, but they don't want to screw it up. They just want
Absolutely.
to be shown how to do it, which is totally fine.
I taught a lot of private lessons that were literally just somebody bought like one of those like 18-volt like starter kit thing,
Right.
where you get
Yeah.
like a
Yeah, yeah,
circular saw, a drill,
Yep.
and they would bring it with them to the shop. And they were like, look, I bought this. I like my fingers. I like to keep them.
Yeah.
Can you show me how to like do this safely?
Yeah. Cut some stuff up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like basically show them how to safely use hand power tools.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a layup of a class. It's a short class. Just come. I mean, that could even be like a demo happy hour thing just to get people in the shop. Honestly. And then I think we have something like 70 responses so far, and I think roughly the last 5 or 6 days since I put it out. Everyone's local that is responding to it, which is awesome. And almost all of them are checking that they want kids classes. So it's going to be a thing. Yep. So a lot of beginner classes, a lot of kids classes and whatever. There were a surprising amount that wanted CNC laser stuff.
Yes. Nobody
so-
wants to actually work.
No,
They just want to push a button.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And most of these people don't have them because they're not going to go buy them because they're completely intimidating if you've never used one before.
Sure, yeah. It's a lot of money to put out if you don't know how to use it.
Even the small, like, even the first one I got was the Shapeoko little desktop one. It wasn't the smallest one. It was one right above that. Even that was like, it had to be $1,200 when I got it.
Damn.
Yeah, for like, I think it was like a 24 by 24 or something. It was small.
Tiny.
But yeah, that's the latest on gathering data and all that kind of stuff.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, and then we have do have a topic today.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
What do we got?
your experience and pros, cons, and everything of working by yourself versus working in a shop with other people. This also is a little loosey goosey considering we're at a table with 3 ADHD people.
Yes.
So I believe the opinions are going to be skewed
Oh, absolutely.
because depending on our mood, we can get a whole lot done by ourselves, or we can just sit in here, scroll on a phone, and look at some stuff and be like, I don't want to start anything. And then you go home.
Yeah.
There have definitely been those nights.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I started out watching YouTube in my basement and then doing stuff by myself. It was fine. I got stuff done. I failed a lot, but I was able to just test stuff out by myself and figure it out on my own. Once I got here, even what I thought was the right way after doing it long enough, because I had decent results for my expectations of never doing it before.
Sure.
It's just like, you're not going to learn only by experience. You have to be around others with other experience.
Absolutely.
People far better than us have figured all this stuff out
Oh, yeah.
hundreds of years ago.
Yep, exactly. So I could fast forward some things. I mean, I had a joiner in my basement, and I was joining boards and making cutting boards and going to shows and doing them. And I came in here, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, you're not joining correctly." Like, the hell if I knew, because I had never touched one before. I just did it myself, and that was it. And that's like the most basic of things. When you start getting to other aspects like finishing, I have a million questions, and I've screwed up finishing in 20 ways to Sunday. And you have to fix them.
Yes, you do.
But I don't know. You've been in this shop. You've had multiple people in and out of this shop. So I don't know. But like on weekends like last weekend where I'm gone, you got 80% of your bench done.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you would have gotten. I'm almost positive you wouldn't have gotten that much done if I were here all weekend as well.
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely way more productive.
Yeah.
When I'm just flying solo. Also, I found out recently, I don't know if this is an ADHD thing or if it's just me. So like really tense, like high drama medical shows.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce, dude.
That's your Zen background
That's
noise.
the Zen background noise.
Are you paying attention
Please
to these
don't-
shows?
You're not a pimple.
Yeah.
You're not the Dr. Pimple Popper.
Dude, I love that.
My wife watches
Dude,
that
I love that.
religiously. It's like, oh my God, they just took
Oh,
how much out of that guy? Like squirt,
That
volcano,
that and like the foot shit. Oh man.
the what?
I'm like not into feet. That's not a thing of mine, but like
So you
watching
say.
watching the podiatry stuff and the funky foot stuff that people have to get corrected. It's like the pimple popper stuff.
Mm.
It's gnarly. And it's one of those like an accident. I can't look away. I'm like, oh, there it goes.
Oh, the one that you got to watch is a hip replacement. That's just
Oh,
absolutely brutal.
See, I used to think my mom was weird because she liked watching. They used to televise like surgeries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She loved that. We all thought she was out of her mind. And now, as I'm getting older, it's kind of interesting.
It's like, I better research this because I'm going to get a new hip soon.
You're gonna need a new foot soon. So
Yes, I'm going to need a new
all
foot.
this foot stuff I've watched, my diagnosis is you need a new foot.
You guys have just made me so sad.
So you like watching that while doing woodworking?
I listen to it. I don't do much watching. I just have over the speakers. But yeah, that
Are you
or
trying
like
to pay attention to the storyline, or is it literally that's the correct background noise to
that's the
ignore?
background noise, dude.
What?
That or like
That's going to disturb a lot of people in the shop.
that's on them.
Today
That-
we have Johnny Cash. Tomorrow we're watching ankle replacements.
Absolutely, dude. No, like cardiothoracic surgeries and stuff. Great. Love it. Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you like the innards, like
Oh yeah.
the heart
Yeah.
stuff, and
It's
really
interesting.
I don't know how it's just not just bleeding more. Like when they start like operating, you're like, huh? How is it just not? How are they not bleeding out? Like I don't understand.
Well, I mean, you're not just a big bag full of blood.
That's what we are in my brain.
No.
'Cause I don't know anything.
No. All right. That and just like music with a lot of like screaming.
Yeah, I've walked in on those days.
Yeah.
I've walked in on like if I've come in on Saturday like a 2:00.
Oh yeah.
I was like after you've had some food in you
Oh yeah.
and you're ready to get that second wind. I come in and there's some questionable music. That's it.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a good time.
All right. Well, that's your background. I listen to sports because that is complete white noise to me.
Exactly.
Total white noise. I
That
can
doesn't do anything for
kind of
me.
pay attention every once in a while if like my team's not up or whatever. I can tune out. But
I did
yeah.
a normal person thing the other day. I went to a Phillies
we
game.
went to a baseball game.
I
in
did.
person. How was it?
Not gonna lie, better than I remembered.
It's because they won. Yeah,
They did win.
they did win.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Also, one of my favorite pizza places now sells pizza there.
Which one's that?
Mac and Manco's
Oh,
from
yeah.
the Jersey Shore.
Hell yeah.
Apparently, they are now
Oh, that's awesome.
at Citizens Bank Park. Very exciting.
Did you get it?
Well, obviously.
Was it as good, or was
Just
it just like a name drop?
No, just
No?
as good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Nice, thin, crisp pizza. Oh,
Ooh.
love it.
Nice.
I've also come to realize that I don't like things at the correct size.
Well, if most things at the correct size look like a children's size in your hands because
Well,
you're a monster.
No, so what I mean is like with trucks and stuff. I either like them ridiculously lifted or just absolutely slammed to the ground, dragging frame and throwing sparks. Same thing with pizza. I don't like normal thickness pizza. I like either like paper thin pizza,
Or like
like the-
Sicilian,
the-
like
not even Sicilian,
No, the
just like
Chicago.
like the deep dish.
the Detroit style pizza from Steel Penny.
It's so good.
It is.
The day
I have not gone there.
I go there all the time.
I also
You have not gone there.
I have not
because
gone
you live in Dirty Jersey and you're like 40 minutes away. You got it.
Dude, you've done a trip through my town and you're calling it Dirty Jersey compared to Hatboro?
yes.
It's Dirty Jersey. Yeah. What's fun is when we drive to New York and we have to go through the northern part of Jersey,
Oh,
right,
Newark?
like near Newark,
uh-huh.
not quite Hoboken, but like
You mean
on the
New York
outskirts of
light.
it.
Yeah.
And all my kids, every time in the backseat, what is that smell? I'm like, that's Jersey. That's Jersey, kid.
Refineries.
That smell for the most part isn't the refineries.
No,
Is it just the sewage? The swamp?
Burning trash.
Oh, what, from Staten Island? Like drifting over?
No, Newark.
They burn trash in Newark?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They so there's several power plants there that provide
you don't
a lot
smell
of power.
them though, because there's one in Hamilton that burns.
Oh, trust me, you smell it.
You don't
Interesting.
smell that one.
I would smell it when they were burning in Tullytown when I was in Levittown. You knew.
Well, that
As soon
was
as-
burning trash, and that was just burning on
Oh, burning
the
trash,
mound.
bodies it found, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The welding shop that I used to work for, we went to all those power plants
interesting.
and did a lot of their water refinement.
Interesting.
Yep.
Burning
trash, dude.
All that to say, he gets more done when he's alone. 25
Yeah.
tangents later, we went from do you like being in the shop alone to burning trash at
Yeah.
power plants.
Yeah, man. Every now and
It was a
then
fast transition.
I'll put like surgical recaps over the speakers or like death metal.
Nice.
There really is not much of an in between.
So you've both worked in shops where it's like restoration places and places where you're actually like a production type place. Like we
Mhm.
have a project, we have spec, we're building stuff out.
Hated that.
Yeah, like was that better or worse with other people? Like similar skill levels, like you're each doing the same job. Like is that just like camaraderie, shooting the shit, like I can do it faster than you, kind of like enjoyment, or is it just
I think the most annoying thing is when the skill level wasn't close.
Yeah. There were
Mm.
so you would have people running a shop that skill wise were beneath you,
yeah.
but then you would also just have different ways of doing things and different thought processes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would that just kind of drive you nuts? Like, you're doing a similar project and this person's doing it. It may
Half-assed?
not be.
Yes.
It may not be a wrong way. It's just different.
It's not the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah. I would
Watching
think.
something like that happen.
Yep.
But I mean, I'll be honest. I get the same. I don't even want to call it level of frustration, but it's just like the little like the itch in the back of my head. Half the time, just watching you do stuff in here,
Oh yeah.
or watching Mike do stuff in here. It's like, what are you doing? That is not how I would do that.
Uh huh. Yeah.
But also, you're not like unsafe, and
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
your customer's happy with it in the
Yeah.
end, and so
It's
are
just-
you, and
it's
that's
just
all that
different.
matters.
It's a different thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
No,
was-
it's interesting. Yeah, no, 'cause, I mean, I still try. Like I constantly try to get better, but I still try to research stuff that I don't know how to do because I want
Sure,
to
yeah.
be able to do it one day. So I still dive down YouTube rabbit holes and everything,
That's the way to do
and
it.
I know enough to know that once I start watching someone do something in a certain way, I'm like, I'm not continuing this video. And I look at another one. I'm like, I don't like the way their thought process around that was driving me nuts.
Half of
Exactly.
So
YouTube-
even if they were successful, I hate the way that they're doing that.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
half of YouTube is just people making up shit.
Yes. Yeah. Like me talking about metal.
Yes.
There it is.
When you said it was like temper it after you put the handle on, I'm like, oh god.
Well, I know you don't do that, but no, to go on that, Tony's just like, you don't have wood and blacksmith knives. I was like, true. Then sends me a couple links.
Oh boy.
I was like, oh, yeah, nah. But anyway,
Now, the other part was, I think one of the hardest parts was watching somebody that micromanages that didn't know what to do in the first place.
yeah, that kind of blows my mind. If there was like a way of doing it in this scenario, if you're in a makerspace and you're teaching, you can at least teach in the same manner.
Mhm.
Like, here's how you make a cabinet. You're making a jewelry box. You're making a whatever. You're doing miter joints. Like, there are a million ways to do miter joints, a million tools you can do it on. And there are just ways that are easier, but then there are kind of like ways that you're going to nail it every time. And you're like, you want to teach it the right way where they'll nail it every time.
Sure.
And when they start becoming a member and then they're like, I'm a jewelry box maker now, and they make 20 of them, you're not cringing every time you watch them. Like, at least you have a little bit of control for that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I would always start off most of my classes with kind of a boilerplate disclaimer that, like, look, this is the way that either I have found over the years to work the best, or the way that my boss has told me he wants this class taught.
Yeah, right.
This is not the way. It is not the only way.
Yep.
There are a million ways to get to the same jewelry box.
Yeah.
And if you take this class, you love it, and 5 years from now you find a better way to make a jewelry box, sick.
Yeah.
Love that for you.
Have all me. Yeah. Have
Yeah.
at it. Yep. No, it's I like that. Just because starting out, I would watch YouTube, I'd try it, and either my execution was bad because I didn't have practice enough to execute it properly, or I didn't have the right tool that they had, which wasn't good enough to make something up, wasn't good enough to come up with a jig or something like that.
Well, there's also little things, and a lot of times it's not something that's big, but something that's small. I mean, 2 weeks ago when I helped you out with the walnut table.
Yeah, there's like a timing thing and the amount of finish and the
it's if you don't surface prep right, and it wasn't like it took that long.
No.
But you think you skipped, you're saving time skipping certain steps. You go, oh, that won't make that much difference, and then you go, oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah, because I could tell at the end of it, I looked at it, I was like, this looks pretty good, and I was like, I need to look at it in different light, and I moved it around. I'm like, you know what? I am not satisfied with that at all. I was like, it doesn't look great. I was like, and that's why it's like, I've tried now this exact method on 2 separate tables, and I was unhappy with it both times. And I made a tweak the second time and thought it would get better, and it didn't. I'm like, all right, now I got to ask for help. And like, there's a certain point where you got to ask for help.
Yeah.
You just have to, because I can keep on spinning my wheels and wasting money and
something very, very small.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't even we added scraping to the method. Now I would have gone from the CNC to the belt sander to the scraper and back to hand sanding.
Sure.
That belt stand you sent me is only 3 inches wide.
That's pretty narrow for doing a table, or for general purpose.
If it was the same size as whatever that is, a Makita that I have over there,
I will look.
I would put money down on it today in a heartbeat. Having that without a power cord.
I know.
Oh my God.
He sent you the what is it? The Walt
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went back and forth on that. I was like, I wish they had a power planer that was cordless. They didn't until now.
It's just,
I don't think that's always been around.
That's been around for a while.
The cordless one? I thought I looked for it last year and it didn't exist.
Definitely existed last year.
Really?
I looked at it when I was building a deck. Definitely after the pandemic.
Okay.
But
it might have been longer.
People were definitely still wearing masks and shit.
Honestly, it could have been longer than what I think it was, or it was the same price as it is now. And 2 years ago, I scoffed at like $240 because that's what it is. But
probably.
But honestly, that just taking it into lumberyard and identifying every little piece with one pass instead of like scrape 25 times over and over with every board.
Sure.
Pain in the ass. But I think I'm going to get that for the lumberyard. And honestly, for some of the stuff, like I have big cookies that I want to surface on the CNC, and I just don't have the height. There's 7+ inches on one corner. You can knock it down again forever on end grain with a scrub plane and just knock it down, or you just swipe it with that thing and be done with it. But
power planers are a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
they really are.
Now, accuracy wise, the best one I found is the Makita.
Mm-hmm. We have one here, the Corda Makita.
Yeah,
I love that thing. Actually, I use that on my bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Porta cable that I had was not. It didn't adjust right. There was an adjustment that was perfect, and you could get it to work.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards, it was doing it was dishing out. It was.
Oh yeah.
Because the depth on it was just a piece of foam in there,
so you can kind of squish it with the wrong pressure. And And I guess that's
never
the thing.
Worked out right. But the Makitas have always been. Every Makita I have ever used for the power planer has been spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. What about you working with other people? Have you been in many shops where you're not just teaching other people, where you're just working alongside them?
Yes.
Stuff? Yeah. How was that?
Not bad when I was starting. The first shop I worked at, there was 13 guys. So it,
Sausage fest.
well, you wouldn't even, like, we would rough sand everything, but then the whole piece got given to somebody else to sand and somebody else to finish.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we had separate units to do.
So you actually
do
had
that.
like an assembly line
Yeah.
for furniture stuff?
That's how a lot of production shops operate.
Mm-hmm.
So I have never worked in a true production shop.
Yeah, yeah.
I've worked
Honestly, that would take a certain kind of mindset
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah,
not.
I don't have that.
That's the thing, not getting that satisfaction of the full project. Even like not even the whole project, just at least a large chunk of it. So it's like satisfying to do.
Oh yeah.
And you feel like good after it's done.
What's that cabinet shop that was up in Doylestown that was always like our competition?
Oh,
What was that place? It was like Patriot or something?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. When I got laid off from the cabinet shop that him and I worked for, I went for an interview there, and they gave me a tour of the place. They made me an offer, and I couldn't do that.
Yeah, because
I
that's what the
just
job would
couldn't
be.
It was literally like, you'll be ripping lumber all day.
So you're the first step.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think you bounce around
Yeah.
if you have like the skill set to do so.
Yeah.
But like one day you'll just be ripping lumber all day. Another day you'll just be running pocket holes all day.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fucking blow my brains out, dude.
Yeah, that's mindless.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
That's why I ended up going into the welding.
Honestly, that's why I follow a couple people that they do custom furniture for 95% of their job. And then I mean there are people that like work for themselves and whatever.
Mhm.
But then they'll have that like 5%, 10% of jobs that come in that are production runs on stuff.
Yep.
Where it's like I know, like, you know, like yurt stuff, except him sending me 100 of them.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you're going to drill holes literally for the next 2 weeks.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
you only have to do it for 2 weeks. You get paid well to do it. But
For the
that's
first
what you got to do.
6
Like
months.
that's I can't.
Yeah.
For
Like,
like
I do
the first
small runs.
for like the first 6 months when I started at the first production shop that I worked at, I drilled holes.
Yep.
We were doing guide blocks for cables for Conrail. So I had to make jigs that I could have pieces that were all uniform, stick them in the drill press, boom, 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 because everything had to be interchangeable.
Right.
And that was like 6 months of me doing that.
Yikes.
I did thousands of these. It was like just cable
Yeah.
blocks that
Mhm.
they ran, cables through, and it centered them. So that was boring as fuck.
I would imagine. And that's the thing. Like I would imagine it's, you know, at that point it's the same as any other job. You're just doing a thing. You're
Oh,
not,
yeah, you're
not doing
talking
woodworking
wheel.
at all. You're just a monkey. Like you just do the thing over and over and over.
I mean, the amount of lumber I put through a planer for that job, because we did, miles and miles of these blocks as they did on the tracks. And
Yikes.
Uh-huh.
6 months of building something that's basic.
Yeah.
But the only problem with it is everything had to be interchangeable. So over, say, 15, 20,000 pieces, they had to all be the same. So when I set stuff up, it didn't change.
Well, now the robots will just take over that job
Yes.
because that's just a simple CNC away. It could be a 3, 4, 5 axis CNC. It could be a custom one that does all that stuff. But all the repetitive shit is just going to be gone, I would think.
I would hope so.
Yeah. But
The second shop was
You
a
don't think so?
2-man shop. It was just,
you think that stuff will still exist?
Absolutely.
Because considering those machines are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I don't think in any of our lifetimes the production worker will disappear.
I hope not. Seeing some of that shit at those shows is like blows my mind. I think they also price out any company that isn't going to pay for itself. Like, I don't know what the timetable on a big company to pay for that machine would be when they're doing, because all those jobs are for small things.
Months.
Yeah, really, not even years.
Months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Most places when you buy a machine like that,
Mm-hmm.
they already have contracts lined up,
To pay for it.
and they kind of built that into it.
That's pretty
Or
nuts.
they have contracts that they've been doing for 2 decades. It's a steady thing. It's a surefire thing. And they'll look at it and they'll think, well, this machine's going to cost me $100,000. And that shop is probably doing several million in revenue.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, a machine like that is just an operating cost to them.
Yes. Yeah. No, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So after, like when I went from there, I went to a basically 2-person shop, and we did all high-end custom. Then after that, I started my own place.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of like a different environment than what we're doing here.
Totally different.
Yeah, like this is not
Worlds
gonna be,
apart.
not going to be a cabinet shop.
No.
You know.
The other drawback that you see when you go into a shop that is production like that, you have people that are quote unquote experts at doing one thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the last shop that Jake and I were at was basically plywood boxes with face frames,
Right. Yeah.
and that was considered quote unquote custom.
Yeah, because it was
Well-
a custom size.
Yeah, it was custom built, but it wasn't high end.
Yeah.
No, it was, I want to say it was low end stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say at mine, I would go a little bit further and say it was like low mid range, but you know they didn't have a adequate spray room. They had antiquated tools that were never. They were at the end of the life. You know, like the slide saw was never quite accurate.
Right. Yeah.
We were
That
working.
thing was rough.
Yeah.
We were working with stuff that was discontinued. There was a general saw. There was other stuff. Those kind of shops tend to have like the equipment that a serious hobbyist would buy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they do not buy.
Honestly, that's where like Harvey's tried to position themselves.
Yes.
It's like it's not industrial level stuff, but it's super expensive for a single guy shop or 2 guy shop.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good for that scenario. But I don't know how that stuff would hold up with a place like that, with like an assembly line with a guy ripping all day.
Oh no.
Exactly. And I mean, that's also what you have to think about when you're buying that kind of equipment is the throughput of
Yeah.
it. I mean, if
Right.
you're in a production shop, you need a machine, and those machines are built to run 8-12 hours a day,
Yeah.
5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And do the same thing over and over again. Whereas a lot of the machinery that high-end hobbyists and like low-end shops buy,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at our planer or joiner, I mean, there are just days where those machines won't get turned on for 4 or 5 days at a time,
Yeah.
and they'll just sit there.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
actually,
we still dull the knives.
Exactly.
if you look at the difference between the old one that Jake has sitting over there in the corner, which is an industrial piece of equipment, our planer here is still what I would consider a higher end on a bigger scale of hobbyist.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, when you start looking at 110 and 220 stuff, and you're not looking at 3-phase,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not looking at production.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that you said when I first started talking about tooling in the makerspace. You're like, everything has to be 3-phase. Because like you're just going to be like, for the most part, you're like, everything's going to be just used so much more,
Mm-hmm.
like so much more. You can't have the exact. You can get away with this planer.
Sure.
The maintenance on it's going to be almost constant.
Well, you
You know.
have to actually change that oil every 100 hours.
Yep.
You could put 100 hours on that thing in a week.
Easily.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's one of those things. If you don't keep up with those schedules, they just break down. And you're
Yep.
just gonna have to buy another one anyway. You might as well spend that up front and get a big old thing that's way more industrial and everything,
Mhm.
especially for something like a planer.
But
Everyone and their mother with any project, with any class, is going to be throwing something through a planer for the most part.
Yeah.
Outside of like the straight up beginner classes, that's going to be used in almost every class.
Oh, every class uses a planer.
Yeah, even
Because that-
like a cutting board class, they use it. Yep.
That's
After
one
it
of
blew up. Yep.
that was one of the big, like, not really an aha moment, but like one of like the big
Yeah,
magical moments
it is.
in woodworking is when you send like a rough face board in
Oh, yeah.
and it comes out buttery smooth on
Oh,
the
yeah.
other side.
Dude, it's
And like,
the first time I did that at Philly Woodworks, it was on a machine, I think, just like that.
yes.
It was a little wider, but it's the same kind of thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, that's just a wet dream.
Yep. Yeah,
Like,
they-
oh my God, look at that.
But they look at it and they're like, where did it go? Because they don't understand how the machine works at that point. They just
Yeah,
see ugly wood going in and beautiful shit coming out.
it's just magic.
On the reverse side of that we find is a lot of these production shops are absolutely lacking in refined tools. You know, the last shop we were at, there were no hand planes except for ours.
Yeah.
And it was almost a stick your nose up at us because we have the hand tools.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, and I'm not a purist. I like power equipment just as much as I like hand tools. Each has its purpose. You know, like
Yeah.
power tools get you 95% there. Hand tools get you the other 5%.
Yeah.
You know, the good example is the scraper when we went the other day.
Yeah.
You looked
It
at
was
that
night-
finish
it was
and you were
night and
like,
day. It was night and day.
Isn't
Why
that
is
wild?
he-
Not surprising. It's just until you get burned by it a couple times, it's not worth it. And then you get burned after a couple times. Like, you know what? I don't want to redo this again. Let's just do it right the first time.
He has a really good tip for not getting burned by a scraper.
Oh yeah.
Painter's tape.
Oh, painter's tape.
Painter's tape.
I even had like ones I make a glove out of painter's tape. Basically, I take painter's tape around my thumb and
Mhm.
and
What do
fingertips.
with the rest of the glove?
Like Rocky.
The break room was my next glove.
Yeah.
It just keeps you from getting
Gross.
because that scraper gets hot quick.
Mm-hmm.
But the painter's tape keeps you from burning your fingertips.
Nice
Got to protect the tip.
tips from Mike.
Tips from Mike.
Oh, a new short segment on
Uh-oh.
YouTube.
There it is.
There you go. That is your title for.
No context, just him just jumping into the tip.
Absolutely. Yeah, no intros, no title sequence.
No, definitely not.
Just Mike coming in hot from the top rope.
So anyway, tape your fingers so the scraper doesn't get hot. See you later.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube shorts with Mike. Absolutely. That's
yeah.
a moneymaker.
I like that.
Now work like on the opposite end where when I had my shop, it was almost impossible to get anybody to help, to work.
Why? Because they had their one thing and they were heads down with that and they were fine with it.
There really was no skilled labor down in the Caribbean for that. And, everybody wanted air conditioned. Well, you ain't air conditioning a full shop. Well, you could, but I wasn't going to do it down there.
We're gonna.
We will be.
Yes, I know. So people would rather have a $4 an hour office job that's air conditioned than a $15 an hour job learning how to do woodworking.
I'll spend 4 more times the hours in an air conditioned spot. Yeah, probably. If it was my day-to-day job, sure.
So when it was
Man.
at that point,
For a while.
we actually changed.
Don't get bored.
Yeah.
I changed the way I was building stuff. So everything I started to build was modular or disassembled flat pack. A lot of biscuit construction with pocket holes, with hidden screws.
Where were your clients when you were doing stuff in the Caribbean?
What do you mean? Where were my clients?
They were also
In the Caribbean.
on the island.
Well, that's why I was asking. You're just talking about flat packing and all this kind of shit. You weren't shipping it.
No, I'm not. Well, I would take stuff over to Grand Cayman too. There was.
The fancier came in.
Yes, it was the fancier Cayman.
The bigger.
It's grand.
Yeah.
But even just taking with one person, you can build it as like the gun room that I showed you. That was all flat. That was it unpacked, put it together in the shop, unpacked it. It was labeled, and then I can put it together on site. But one person can do it. Whereas if you had something that was 10 foot long and double thickness, it was 1.5 inches thick for all the pieces. That weighs a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And yet by doing it flat pack and a reassemble,
Mm-hmm.
it was easy. It wasn't easy, but it was doable for one person to do it. So your construction methods differ depending on the size of size of the shop that you're in.
I mean, you've seen how I put stuff together here.
Mm-hmm.
It's all disassemblable.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, a lot of the customers that I have don't have a double wide door going into their house.
Right. Yeah.
So like to get some of the stuff that I make into people's houses, it has to be kind of modular. I mean, you can glue it and screw it on site and it's never leaving.
Yes.
But
yeah, exactly. So like
it has to be able to get
when
it.
you did that executive desk,
Yeah,
that was one of the few where you knew they had a double door.
exactly.
So like, okay, that's fine. But then once we got in the apartment, you're like, you don't have a double door into the office.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh,
And they forgot
that
to
got
mention
I hated that at the last place.
They forgot to mention that. I was like,
Mhm.
dude, that's close. It got through there with like no room.
A little bit of Crisco on both sides.
Yeah, that was tough.
There was times like the one shop where Jake and I were at, they like to build everything non-disassembled. So it's like you had these monster pieces. It might be 12 foot long and 8 foot tall. And then it had to be brought to the place. So you had this big box truck or trailer.
Right, with multiple people.
You had to get multiple people. And it was just a hassle when it didn't have to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could have been done, like we did a job in Philly in a brownstone that some of those pieces were 500 pounds.
Yeah.
And we had to get them to the second floor. We had to get them in place. And there was times where two people couldn't move one of these pieces.
Yeah, no, not in such a fashion that you're not going to knock into everything or drop it or whatever. You're going to screw something up. Last thing you want to do is be with whatever travel bag of tools that you have and have to fix stuff on site. Just nightmare.
So, I mean, that makes a big difference having one or two people or, 3 as in here, and having 8 people that you can come and say, hey, we need to move this.
Yeah. I've had to call on a couple favors and my stuff is not complicated. It's been mostly tables, but there have been a couple tables that are just really freaking heavy.
Oh, yeah.
And the only disassemblable part is the base and the top. Like it's 2 pieces. You still have to carry the base in, and you still have to carry the top separately, and then assemble it upside down and flip it, which is annoying.
Okay.
But it's like really, especially when you get some of the table that you've made. I mean, that table that you made with the extension leaves and all that kind of stuff, that thing was heavy when it was done.
That one actually was delivered in one piece.
That was one piece.
That was a single piece delivery. Yep.
Our Gothic tables on average were 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. The table with the extensions was delivered in one piece, and I mean, just happy accident. It happened to fit down their hallway with a little bit less than an inch
Nice.
to spare. Again, it was a house that had double doors
Yeah.
to get into,
Yeah.
but the hallway leading to the kitchen,
Yep.
we had to turn it all the way up on its side.
Yep.
One turn messes you up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, I thought I was going to have to do some drywall repair.
So honestly, that's why the bar that I made, I had not seen the house. I'm like, take me through the backyard into the basement.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, walk through it right now.
Absolutely.
And like, what does your basement door look like? How far away from the wall are the stairs?
Mhm.
Can you turn when you get to the bottom of the stair? And he was like, it can, and you love that. The client's like, it can definitely fit.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what do
I
you mean
love that.
definitely? Did you go take it? Because I think that bar was like, I think it was 9 feet long. I was like, go to Home Depot and get like a 2x4 or a 2x3 that's 8 feet or 10 feet long and just carry it into the basement.
Yeah.
I just want you to do that. And that's a skinny little thing.
Exactly.
I was like, now that's 2 feet wide and you only have 2 guys carrying it. Like, can that happen? And he's like, yeah. It was like, okay. It barely made it. And he's like, I don't care if we scratch the wall down there. I'm like, was that part of your answer that you just didn't say out loud? Like, we'll scratch up stuff, but whatever, you'll fix it.
Mhm.
That's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
That's why I put the whole bar, like the base of it together here. It was going to be heavy, but not too heavy to lift with 2 people, and it could still make the turn in his basement. I'm like, I'd rather do that than spend more time. But if it was only going to be me, that thing would have been in 3 pieces. the bar top itself would have been, well, I don't know. There's not much I can do with that, but I at least had the homeowner who was a fit guy to help me move it.
We did one set of cabinets that Princeton Granite did the top to.
Mm-hmm.
They just disassembled the outside wall to bring in the granite top.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I watched
It
some
was
companies that
a
have
single
that kind of
piece.
stuff.
It was massive.
Like the Black Forest Company type deliveries. They're like, oh, we're delivering this to a
Yeah.
corporation. It's a 20-foot conference table. It's all epoxy, this and that. And it has to go into the 17th floor. So we rented a crane and they're removing the wall. And like, at what point do you not be involved? Be like, that's not, I'm making the product. You have to figure out how to get inside. Like, that can't be my thing. I'll just call my crane guy.
It ends up being yours.
That's what
because they're gonna
that's what I
say,
mean. It kind of
well,
has to be.
yeah,
Do you want to get them? They're like, they're not going to be like, sure, I'll hire you, but then I have to figure out how it gets in the house. No.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of on you too.
Yeah.
and with big projects like that, they're like, oh, well, that's included in the price. No,
Yeah,
that is completely separate.
yeah.
It is of cost.
Yeah.
Here you go.
This price is the table. We're gonna figure out the rest, and you're just
Yeah.
gonna pay that cash when it comes.
Because some of those cranes are
Oh yeah.
ungodly expensive.
Oh sure. I mean, the crane guy I know, he's not a crane guy. He's a tree guy that has a huge crane. I mean, they're $300 to $400 an hour because they barely can keep an operator to use their thing. Their operators are like water; they're coming and going. But having that is helpful. Having multiple people in the shop just to like lend a hand lifting and flipping and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that dining table that I did for my buddy as my first real project was by myself in my basement.
Well, but
Flipping that was really entertaining. I'm pretty
That
sure
round
I damaged it
epoxy
multiple
table.
times flipping it.
that round epoxy table is slick. You can't get a grip on it.
I've had to flip that 3 times so far.
And there's nothing to grab on because it's this big circle.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's nothing. It's just grip. I mean, honestly, that chain hoist has been like a really awesome worker for us.
Absolutely, dude. There's nothing better than having a chain hoist.
Yeah, because I mean that giant counter has to come flat today, so I can cut it up.
Sure.
So I can get those cabinets out of here. But
That's easy enough.
yeah, no, it's definitely helpful having people in the shop for muscle-based purposes, for sure.
Sure.
Also to bounce ideas off of.
Well, that's the same. That's the thing too. It's sometimes it's not even a skill question. It's like here's the finish.
Just look straight.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going back to like dimension thing. They're like, is this too skinny or too wide or whatever? This is how I'm going to assemble this top.
Mm-hmm.
Like that helps a lot. And sometimes the answers are, yeah, that'd be fine. And sometimes it's like, absolutely not. That's a horrible idea.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like having. It's going to sound bad, but I like having smaller people in the shop so I can have them sit at a table and tell me if it's like a comfortable height.
Yeah, it's like
Every table I make, I think it's way too fucking short.
yeah.
And worse yet is if you look at the table without chairs, it's disgustingly short.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the table that I did for my the one client that I had to redo the base because it wasn't thick enough.
Mm-hmm.
But like height wise, you and Bob walked in, you're like, that's too small. I'm like, is it? And because it was up there, so it wasn't on the ground, we were like, I can tell it's too short. It was like half an inch shorter than what a standard table is. I was like,
Too short.
that's pretty damn close though. Like,
Yeah, until you try to
so small.
Until you try to slide an armchair underneath.
Yeah. I think what was it? Florida, the top of it, I think it was like 29 and a half inches.
If it doesn't start with a 3, it ain't tall enough.
That's it. I was just like, yeah, but it looks
That's my
really comfortable for me. You're like, that's not the same.
29 and a half is the standard, but I like 30.
30 is a good number.
I sat down, I'm like, this is really comfortable. And I knew the clients, and they were not tall people either.
And that's something that you have to take into
I mean,
consideration.
the extension leaf table you made was enormous for very specific reasons. They were like tall, large people. Like,
Well, no, they wanted
the chairs.
They wanted a bar height table.
No, with like the width of the chairs, like the heights of those, like everything there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, bouncing ideas off definitely helpful. Helping physically to move stuff also helpful.
Also very helpful, yeah.
also gets in the way when like literally one person is finishing and the other person is about to sand for hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, at that point, you really should have a finishing room.
Well, yes.
Should.
Right now, I have to pour tabletop epoxy on that table. So,
Oh God, that's the finish you're doing for the top?
that's the finish. Just tabletop epoxy.
Ah,
So, like, that's the thing. It doesn't need a lot of time, but it needs enough time to set so that there's like not floaty dust stuff in the air.
but like,
What happens when it yellows?
I don't even give a shit about that. Oh, really?
Yeah,
That makes me so sad.
yeah.
With that nice chamfer that you just put on it?
Well, it's on the bottom, but yeah,
I know, but that,
He can hand sand that and make it crisp.
crisp. I just hate doing it because it drips everywhere.
Exactly.
It's a freaking mess. And you have to get the drips on the bottom side at just the right time.
uh-huh.
Because if they get too set, then it is totally shitty getting them out.
Yeah.
Oh, they shatter when you try to scrape them off or cut them
Yeah,
off.
they go shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't sand them off.
Yeah.
Because it just eats away at any sandpaper. Just tears it. It's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But
I did one table,
I remember you hated it.
or no, they weren't tables, they were countertops.
No.
And they wanted like the epoxy put on
Ew.
them and
I
stuff.
remember that. You're like, this sucks. I'm never doing this again.
It was terrible. Actually, you know the customer, Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He got these massive like
Oh, I remember those.
countertop
They were
size.
walnut.
They were
Oh, that was the big. Was that the
Walnut?
big counter?
I think they were
That
walnut
big
or
L?
sapele.
yeah, the best.
No.
That giant.
They were
L.
Sapele.
Sapele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
those are huge.
they were huge, and the epoxy, it turned out looking terrible. It did not level out at all.
Yeah, that one looked like it needed to be triple the amount and like preheated before it went on
Yeah.
or something. But like it soaked in some spots, and
Mhm.
others like
The other thing that was really bad about it, which is why I've sworn that I will never do tabletop pour epoxy, when I went to like redo it and just spray lacquer it,
Yep.
I started sanding it and I figured this is taking absolutely forever. I put a chisel underneath it and the entire countertop peeled off. There was
It's
zero
impossible at all.
adhesion.
So
that's crazy.
tabletop epoxy is not epoxy. It's polyester. Polyester does not bond well with wood.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like all these people that make the tabletop pours,
They just haven't.
if you get any impact, flex, or whatever,
Yeah.
it creates that bubble
Yeah.
when it
creates a void.
separates.
Yep.
It's not great stuff. I mean, there are stuff. Polyester bonds well with aluminum.
Mhm.
It does not bond well with wood.
Yeah.
Epoxy, on the other hand, bonds very well to
Yeah.
wood.
Makes sense.
The bond is stronger than the wood is.
But yeah, no, after that tabletop or that countertop fiasco,
Yep.
I have vowed never to touch that stuff again. I will
We're gonna give it a go.
I will literally
Personally, yours, I
Not
would
do a
sand
job.
that probably to about 400,
Yeah, that's what I was planning on.
and then I would give it a coat of automotive urethane.
clear coat.
It doesn't yellow. It's one of the toughest finishes out there. It's slightly flexible now. They put a plasticizer in it,
Mhm.
so you can spray it over like plastic bumpers and such.
So you wouldn't go through like a full like sanding, higher grits, wet sanding, polish buffer, and then all that stuff first?
Not as your
No.
base coat.
No,
That
Epoxy is your base coat.
that stuff's enough.
that stuff will fill in the little scratches and stuff. If you go up to like 4, maybe 600 pushing it,
Yeah.
that'll be fine.
Because you're putting a clear coat on a clear coat.
Yeah.
It'll fill in.
And it buffs real nice. It sprays wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
It sands wonderfully. Whereas that the bar coat is always clogging stuff. You try to sand that with sandpaper, it clogs.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, there you go. I mean, this is why having other people here is because bouncing ideas off.
It's little things,
Like,
you know?
certainly try that before trying, because undoing the bar top stuff is like it's horrible.
You might as well just resurface it with
Doesn't mean
CNC.
anything. Right, exactly.
Sounds terrible.
But yeah, I do have. If that's the case, then I do have to take marks out on that finish pass.
Uh-huh.
But I have to just kiss it with the CNC again. Maybe some sharp, like rotate the surfacing cutters.
Yo, I'll tell you what.
Be nice to have dust collection for that.
When I flattened both sides of that bench top
Yeah.
over the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
I was very pleasantly surprised at how well that cut.
That's a nice bit.
I mean, it's a nice bit and stuff, but I'm going to say that's probably the first time that I've used that CNC machine
for surfacing.
for surfacing since we got rid of the Avid.
It's actually flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very tiny amount of sanding to do.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful experience.
Yep.
So it was within 1/10,000th of an inch.
Oh, that's what they all are, right?
I mean,
No, we had somebody try and tell us that a shop bot was accurate over 8 feet within 1/10,000th of an inch. I'm like,
Sure
no.
it is.
no, I mean, that was maybe 5,000ths.
Yeah.
As far as like the ridges and stuff, but
Mhm.
that disappears real fast when you're sanding.
Oh yeah, Scraper cuts that in one pass. But the problem that like you went through is you ran it through the CNC and then you sanded with
Yep.
the random orbital.
Yep.
So it looks smooth, but you still have those valleys and all that in it.
I did not, and that's the thing. That's also an execution thing. I should probably have a light down on the table.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I have not gotten that. I have not gotten that into like my workflow.
But it comes to that.
Just start
You have-
standing at 4:00.
Seriously,
Yeah.
in this room, yeah.
This is the most unforgiving room in the world with
Yeah,
light
dude.
at 4
Yeah.
o'clock.
Exactly. You will.
Same thing with my kitchen.
Yep. You will see everything.
All the stuff that just like all the little crumbs and stuff that fell on the floor throughout the day. You're like, oh, there they are.
With a mile-long shadow.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
I see everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and back to the shops that they think a random orbital is the end all and be all of sanders. That, oh, well, we don't use a belt sander.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to flatten anything, especially a table. There's always going to be little irregularities with the random orbital
Yeah.
that the belt sander or a what are they called? Basically, it's a massive belt sander,
Oh,
stroke sander
stroke center. Yeah.
that you're putting a plat in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's the little steps that if you miss one of those steps because it doesn't look great,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it does much. Like going from the CNC to the belt sander, then to the scraper, then back to the random orbital to finish it off.
Yeah.
Some of those steps that you have to do, the finish just doesn't show up. It doesn't show up until you put finish on.
Right. Well, so I watched a recent video of a guy doing a conference table where the client specifically wanted an epoxy poured top for the whole thing.
Mhm.
So he went through and he sanded it after the CNC and he poured it and he goes, whoa, wait a second. He put the light on it and you saw every single ridge. He goes, I have to sand all of it back. So he sanded all of it back. And then he tried to do the same thing, but he needed like 3 or 4 different methods because he's like, when you put the light on it, if it's not perfect, you could see every single thing.
High gloss is unforgiving.
And it was a high gloss because this was like a client that wanted like gold inlay. Like it was a stupid cheesy over the top, like high gloss, expensive looking table.
Went to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, it was pretty, yeah. It might as well have been a table from Mar-a-Lago because it looked like it went right there. But
Did it have parquet mirrors on the side?
so are you?
The Liberace desk.
Yeah.
What a time.
Are you like going full Dexter here or what? The gloves just went on.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Boy.
oil.
What in this?
Hey, you guys can keep recording.
We are at an hour. So
Oh, look at that.
well,
My internal clock was
So
just
we're-
ticking away.
Jake, where can everyone find you posting every day on social media?
Literally nowhere.
No.
So my socials are JRosterDesign on Instagram and Instagram alone.
Nice.
Mine is Michael Petrus on Instagram.
If you spell it backwards.
Yeah.
No, the Michael Petrus on Instagram is spelled correctly.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Good for you.
Only on Instagram because it's different than Facebook.
Facebook is where
Good Lord.
I got frustrated with my
company.
dyslexia and spelled it backwards.
Nice. A Moshot Woodworking, but we're still looking for the first patron that pays us.
You could be the one.
We'll find a good tier, a good description, and something good. We'll do a monthly Zoom call or something. We'll keep you in the loop with some of the Makerspace stuff, but we'll come up with something else that'll be fun. Maybe we'll broadcast what it is. Maybe we'll just have to be surprised and become the first patron. And we'll just ship you something fun. I mean, honestly, if you're local, I'll just bring it to your house. But
I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, you know what?
it's like a mystery box. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I got a boat.
We'll make that be the thing. If you're the first patron, we will make something and ship it to you.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
All right,
I
That's
like
good.
the idea of
Mystery
Dan
box.
hand delivering.
I'll do that.
Sure. If you're within 200 miles, Dan will deliver it.
Done. One.
200?
Yeah,
20 maybe, but
200.
you gotta make a dedication here.
We're in this for the patrons.
That's true.
okay.
That's true. Patreon.com/Montgo Makers. And actually, you can go to monco-makers.com and give us some feedback on what you're looking for in the makerspace. Just a simple form with some check boxes. And it just goes all to the business plan. We need all that data, so it's helpful. So,
When did you get a gem sander?
oh boy. Okay. The ADD's taking over. We got to go. All right. See y'all next week.
See ya.